As this oil dries, so shall Chigozie's destiny remain dry.
Some stories sometimes sound strange and unbelievable. Do you know you can be living an ordinary life while something evil was working against you? This is not just a tale of coincidence or bad luck. It's a tale of hidden forces, dark ritual and shocking discovery that will leave you questioning everything, that will want to make you look over your own shoulders. If you love mystery stories like this, please subscribe immediately and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on the future story. Now let's begin. Why was everything wrong in Chigozie's life? Was it just bad luck, or was something deeper at play? He had a good degree but couldn't find a job. His relationships always ended in disaster. Anytime he saved money, something strange happened. A sickness, an accident, or a theft, until he was left with nothing. It felt like an invisible force was working against him. Chigozie was born in the village of Umukoro, but lived in Lagos for most of his life. He worked hard, prayed, and did everything right, yet he remained stuck. His friends were moving forward, but he was trapped in one spot. He could not understand why. One night, his childhood friend, Ebuka, called from the village with urgent news. "Gozie, something strange is happening here. I saw a native doctor making incantations under a tree in the dead of night. He was calling your name." Chigozie's heart pounded. "Are you sure? My name?" "Yes." He poured palm oil on a small wooden statue and kept mentioning your name. I hid behind a tree and listened. He said,
"As this oil dries, so shall Chigozie's destiny remain dry."
Cold sweats ran down Chigozie's back. He had always suspected spiritual forces were behind his misfortune, but now he had proof. His name was on an evil altar. His first thought was to tell his mother, but he hesitated. Mama always dismissed such things, telling him to pray and leave everything to God. But was prayer enough? That night he couldn't sleep. He remembered his uncle, Pa Nwokocha, a wise old man who knew many secrets. The next morning, he called him. "Uncle, I need your help. I think someone has placed my name on an evil altar." Pa Nwokocha sighed heavily. "I have been expecting this call. Come home, my son. This is deeper than you think." Chigozie took a leave from a small teaching job and traveled to the village. He arrived at night, and the village was silent except for the distant hoot of an owl. His uncle welcomed him with a serious face. "Sit down, my son. Let me tell you a story." Pa Nwokocha spoke of an old rivalry between their family and another in the village. "Your great-grandfather won a land dispute long ago, and the other family never forgave us. They swore revenge, saying they would make sure your bloodline never prospers." Chigozie's head spun. "So this is generational?" "Yes," his uncle confirmed. "But there is hope. First, you must be sure that your name is truly on an evil altar." "There are signs," Pa Nwokocha listed them. "Constant failure despite hard work, dreams of being chased or tied down, sickness with no medical explanation, rejection from people for no reason, and sudden loss of opportunities." Chigozie had experienced all of this. His hands trembled. "Uncle, what do I do?" His uncle smiled. "Tomorrow we'll seek a solution. But first, you must be ready. This battle is not for the weak." That night, Chigozie lay on a mat in his uncle's hut, his mind racing. He thought about his childhood, his struggles, and all the times he had felt like something was holding him back. If this was truly the work of an evil altar, then he had to fight. But how? The next morning, just as the first cock crowed, Pa Nwokocha shook him awake. "It is time," he said. "We must visit someone who knows how to break curses." I'm glad you are still watching. Please, before we continue, I would like you to hit on the subscription button if you haven't done so. It takes just a second. Now let's go back to our story. Chigozie followed him through a narrow bush path, his heart thumping. After walking for nearly an hour, they arrived at the shrine of an old priestess known as Mama Ogechi. She was feared and respected, known for her deep knowledge of the spiritual realm. She looked at Chigozie and nodded slowly. "Ha! You have been marked for destruction," she said, her voice thick with wisdom. "But not all marks are permanent. Are you ready to do what must be done?" Chigozie swallowed hard. "Yes, Mama, I am ready." She smiled knowingly. "Good, then let us begin." Mama Ogechi led Chigozie into the shrine, where the dim glow of oil lamps flickered against the clay walls. "The altar that holds your name must be at peace," she said, pouring white chalk into a wooden bowl. "A sacrifice is needed." Chigozie felt his stomach tighten. What kind of sacrifice? "You must bring a white goat, 7 alligator peppers, and a cock with red feathers. This will cleanse your name from the altar." Pa Nwokocha nodded. I will help him find what he needs." By evening, they had gathered everything. Mama Ogechi placed the items before a carved statue and began her incantations. She cut the goat's throat, allowing the blood to spill over a calabash. Then she took the alligator peppers and threw them into a small fire, producing thick white smoke. Chigozie watched as she chanted, calling on unseen forces. His body shivered, then suddenly she stopped. She looked at him with deep concern. "The spirits have accepted your sacrifice, but only partially." Chigozie's heart pounded. "Why?" Mama Ogechi shook her head. "Your name is not only on one altar. There is another, a more powerful one, controlled by forces beyond my reach." Chigozie felt weak. "What does that mean?" "It means your battle is not over," she said. "You need someone stronger, someone who can stand against the dark powers behind this altar." Pa Nwokocha sighed. "There is one man in this village who might help, Prophet Chigozie. He is the only one who has defeated such forces before." Mama Ogechi nodded. "Seek him before it is too late. Only he can complete what I have started." Chigozie's heart burned with determination. He would not rest until he was free. Chigozie and Pa Nwokocha left Mama Ogechi's shrine at dawn. The morning mist wrapped around them as they hurried through the narrow paths leading to Prophet Chibuzor's compound. Their air felt heavy, as if unseen eyes were watching them. Prophet Chibuzor was a man known for his deep spiritual insights and powerful prayers. He had helped many people break free from bondage, but his ways were strict, and his battles were not for the faint-hearted. As they approached his compound, a young boy ran ahead to announce their arrival. The prophet stepped out, his long white robe flowing behind him. He was tall, with piercing eyes that seemed to look straight into one's soul. "Why have you come?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Pa Nwokocha spoke first. "Prophet, my nephew is in trouble. His name has been placed on an evil altar, and Mama Ogechi's sacrifice was not enough." Prophet Chibuzor nodded. "I know. The spirits of darkness are fighting for his destiny, but there is a way out. Chigozie stepped forward. "Prophet, I am ready to do whatever it takes." The prophet studied him for a moment, then gestured for them to enter his prayer chamber. Inside, the walls were covered with palm fronds and old scriptures. A large clay pot sat in the middle, filled with water and white stones. "Kneel," the prophet commanded. Chigozie obeyed. Prophet Chibuzo placed his hand on his head and closed his eyes. He began to make some prayers in a deep, resonant voice. The air in the room changed. A strong wind blew through, rattling the windows. Suddenly, Chigozie screamed. His body convulsed, and he felt as though something was being torn from inside of him. He saw visions, shadowy figures standing around a fire, chanting his name. He saw a dark hand gripping his throat, trying to pull him back. Prophet Chibuzo's voice grew louder. "You have no power over him. Release him now," he commanded. Chigozie gasped as he felt a sharp pain in his chest, then an overwhelming sense of relief. The prophet stepped back, breathing heavily. "It is done, but this is only the beginning. The altar has been weakened, but the battle is yet to come." Pa Nwokocha wiped his forehead. "What must we do next, prophet?" Prophet Chibuzo looked at Chigozie. "You must return to the very place where your name was placed, the evil altar. You must destroy it with your own hands." Chigozie's stomach tightened. "But won't that be dangerous?" The prophet's eye darkened. "Yes, the spirit will fight back, but you are not going alone. I will come with you." Chigozie felt a chill. He had started this journey seeking answers, but now he was walking into a direct confrontation with the very forces that had tormented him all his life. Would he survive? The night was cold as Chigozie, Prophet Chibuzo, and Pa Nwokocha made their way to the forbidden shrine deep in the forest, the place where Chigozie's destiny had been trapped for years. The prophet carried a small bottle of anointing oil, while Chigozie held a long wooden staff blessed for the battle ahead. As they reached the shrine, an eerie silence filled the air. The altar, covered in dry blood and burnt offerings, stood menacingly in the moonlight. Chigozie's heart pounded. The moment had come. Prophet Chibuzo lifted his hands and began to pray. A sudden gust of wind howled through the trees. The spirits were stirring. The ground beneath them trembled. A voice, deep and guttural, echoed through the shrine. You dare come to destroy what was sealed? Chigozie froze. The shadowy figure from his visions appeared, circling the altar. Their eyes burned like fire. Their hands stretched towards him. "Chigozie, break the altar now," the prophet commanded. Summoning every ounce of courage, Chigozie lifted the wooden staff and slammed it against the altar. A deafening roar filled the air. The spirits screeched, resisting the destruction of their stronghold. "Fire of the Holy Ghost consumed this place," Prophet Chibuzo declared. Instantly, flames burst from the altar. The spirits wailed, their forms melting into the night. The evil altar crumbled into ash. Chigozie collapsed, exhausted but free. He could feel it. Something had changed within him. A heavy burden had lifted. He didn't need anybody to tell him this. He was free. He was so sure. Pa Nwokocha pulled him up. "It is finished." Chigozie's journey back to the city was swift. He felt lighter, as if chains of misfortune had been shattered. Within weeks, doors began to open. His long stagnant business flourished. People who once ignored him now sought his expertise. A few months later, he met Adaora, a kind-hearted woman who saw beyond his past struggles. They fell in love and married in a grand ceremony attended by family and friends. Chigozie's joy multiplied when Adaora gave birth to twin boys. He named them Chizom and Chikamzo. God is with me, and I will follow God's paths. As he sat in his beautiful home, watching his children play, Chigozie marveled at how his life had turned around. He had faced the darkness, fought the battle, and won. His name was no longer on an evil altar. His destiny had been restored, and so he vowed to never forget the lessons of his past. Evil exists, but light will always triumph. Moral of the story: not all problems are physical. Some battles are spiritual and require divine intervention. Ignoring signs of misfortune can allow evil forces to gain control over one's destiny. No sacrifice done outside of God's will can truly bring freedom. Only God's power can break spiritual chains. Seeking help from genuine spiritual leaders can be the key to deliverance and breakthrough. No matter how one struggles, with faith, courage, and determination, freedom and restoration are possible.